Here's a fairy-type creature for your TTRPG adventures. We're covering all the monsters in the Tales of the Valiant Monster Vault from A to Z, starting with all of the fairy-type creatures. And this time, I'm talking about the Feral Hunter. Feral Hunters are primordial fae. They are all deeply connected to the ancient primordial energies that flow through the Feywilds. And this primal energy manifests in each primal fae having unique bestial traits that they possess, be it fur or claws or like slit eyes or horns or tails, what have you. And each one has very colorful hair and fur, which shimmers on the material plane. And I know that string of words can sound like I was just describing somebody's original Tumblr furry character. But I think the general vibe is less Beast Stars and more Izutsumi from Dungeon Meshi. While mechanically something different, I think Inuyasha fits the aesthetic. I think a great point of reference with a wide range of designs with which to get inspiration from are all of the different elf species that appear in the show The Dragon Prince. Now, feral hunters are very good at what they do. So good that sometimes archfey will seek out their employ to hunt down a particular quarry. Creature or person, that's each archfey's business. More rarely, sometimes a feral hunter will be tasked with hunting down a humanoid or a fey who has left the fey realm and traveled onto the material plane. We all knew it was going to be here. Fey resilience. The feral hunter is resistant to the charmed and unconscious conditions. Feral hunters have heightened senses. When they are trying to perceive by sight, hearing, or smell, their perception is a 19 instead of a 14. And they are also very precise with their weapons. When they deal damage with a piercing weapon, it deals 1 extra damage dice, which is factored into the numbers. Woodland Walk is pretty cool. Not only does it prevent them from being slowed down in difficult terrain, but if that terrain has things like thorns or spines or a similar hazard, they do not take damage. And the feral hunter can make 2 hunting knife or longbow attacks, each getting that sweet, sweet extra piercing damage. But the feral hunter's bonus action and reaction is where it can get very, very dangerous. Its bonus action is called Mark Quarry. The feral hunter chooses a creature it can see within 30 feet and marks it as its quarry. When the feral hunter hits the marked quarry, it deals an extra 1d6 damage or whatever the damage type is. So now its hunting knife deals 3d6 plus 3, and the longbow deals 2d8 plus 1d6 plus 3. And finally, as a reaction, it can reposition. When the feral hunter takes damage, it can move up to 10 feet without provoking an opportunity attack. That's huge, because if people need to get within melee to strike, you can make them keep chasing you. Now, some people might look at this Challenge 3 Fae and go, all right, there's not that much to worry about here. It doesn't have a ton of bells and whistles. It doesn't have an exorbitant amount of damage output. I really don't think it's that much of a threat. To which I say, sure, you drop any monster into a plain white box of a room and it's not going to pose much of a threat. You gotta remember, the feral hunter is not just going to fight you out in the open. They're going to hunt you. The feral hunter is going to hunt you out here, out in the shit, with 3 and 4 foot high ferns that you have to trudge through, and I'm tripping over fucking fallen trees everywhere so I don't stab myself, and they're not going to be affected by this terrain, but your adventurers sure as shit are. There's pitfalls everywhere here that I could break my damn ankle if I'm not careful. And a master hunter is not just going to use the natural landscape to their advantage. They're going to do things like set traps and manipulate the path that they know that their prey is taking, so that the prey is forced to take alternate routes, one that ultimately leads them down the path that the hunter wants. And being such masterful hunters, I have to imagine that they do some research on their prey, learning about any vulnerabilities or weaknesses or behaviors that the hunter can exploit. And being a hunter, you could always give them some sort of poison that they apply to their arrows to deal on that extra damage or other effects. While there are obvious ways that we can use the feral hunter to make a challenging encounter for the party, I have some suggestions to up the ante and make it a true deadly encounter. First and foremost, this thing is only fully effective if you have it in a natural environment. That's pretty much everywhere outside of cities. And the feral hunter is doing everything we talked about. It's using the natural landscape to its advantage. It's altering the path, forcing the party to take a detour and the path that the hunter wants them to take. Being in a forest, having a dryad ally would be remarkably helpful, especially if things came down to a true encounter. But I also think you should give the feral hunter a faithful hunting hound to accompany them on their treks. Honestly, it should be 2 blink dogs so that you can take advantage of pack tactics. So now you have 2 blink dogs running interference, a dryad helping deal additional damage and distraction as well, and the feral hunter gets to remain hidden in the trees and the foliage, peppering the party with these massive bombs of damage from their arrows as they move the quarry from one member to another, dropping their HP by massive amounts for a challenge 3. A ferocious furry fairy, the feral hunter. Use it, you nerds.